Hello, everybody, and welcome on to this very exciting episode because today I'm joined by someone who has been in God of War and God of War Ragnarok, somebody who I really loved when I played God of War, and I'm really loving as I'm playing God of War Ragnarok, and that is Danielle, who plays as Freya. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here with you. And as you can see, my wings found me for the interview. they, they weren't on the wall before the interview. They just, there they
Uh,
appeared. And I think we got a little Bifrost crystal over here. I don't
yes.
know. There's some portal over here, but it's just you and I.
It's
It's
just
just
you
you and
and
I.
I with the amazing wings. I love those wings. That is
Aren't
looks
they
super cool.
beautiful?
They're
Yeah. My
yeah.
mom found those.
Oh,
They somehow when I started playing Freya, I have this little hashtag that I do called hashtag the wings find me because
yeah.
everywhere I go, like I'm seeing wings. And then, of course, I have to take a picture in front of them. But magically, the god or the god of war, as it were, like they're just appearing everywhere. So,
They know. They like the world knows. Like you definitely have need the wings. They just know it.
and even in the first game, I mean, that little Easter egg, right?
Yeah.
Well, I say first, I mean God of War 4 in
Hmm.
2018.
Yeah.
When you're in the Witch of the Woods, in Sanctuary Grove under my beautiful large turtle, Charlie.
Turtles. Yeah.
I love Charlie.
Ch-
And I'm pulling the different herbs off. You can kind of see just Easter eggy tucked
hmm.
right in the corner on the wall are those
Yeah.
wings. So Sony Santa Monica, they think of everything. What a great team.
They think of everything. Speaking of great team, they did such an incredible job on this game. I'm such blown away by just the first half an hour of the game. I was like, is this how the game's gonna go? My God. So
Yeah.
it's so amazing.
Yeah, it's really spectacular, and there was a lot there was a lot of nerves and a lot of fear that the sequel would not be received, and
Hmm.
because it's in a good way, because it's easy to kind of crap all over a sequel, like they
Yeah.
should have left it alone, or they didn't live up to the standard, or they didn't follow through with this storyline, and I think the studio, every dev, every artist cares so much about this world that they created, that they not only like expanded upon Atreus and Kratos, right, the two leads of our game, but
Yeah.
they explored Freya's beautiful backstory, Sindri's, Brock's, Mimir. Like, it's incredible for those, and we won't give any spoilers on the interview here, but it's just incredible because these characters that you've grown to love, like this little chosen family, you get to know why they ended up right here at this particular moment all together.
Yeah, I love that storytelling part because everybody gets so much. Because in the previous God of War game, we did get some bits of it, but this game it expands so much. I was blown away about how many things, how many more stories we get to hear. It's so incredible. I love everything about it.
Yeah, indeed, as do I.
Well, one thing I would say, like when everybody saw the trailer first time, I think one of the most surprising things that people got to see was Sunny and his voice, and everybody was like, "My God, this guy has gone through puberty."
He
uh,
really has.
was it shocking or surprising to you when you first kind of talked to him or got into a shot with him?
Yeah, yeah. He was just this little peanut of a guy, right? And like from like 2014 when I met him to 2018. And of course, it's temporal, right? Because
Yeah.
these are like formative years to adolescence to teenage years. And then, I mean, I'm doing it even with my nieces and nephews. Like every time I turn around, I'm like, what? Who is this grown man I'm looking at? And your voice, I can't. It's too much. And so I did feel that way coming back and seeing Sunny as this now teenager, fully fleshed out teenager, and hearing the change in his voice, which it proposed a bit of a challenge for the
Mm.
game because it was trying to sort of how many years had actually gone by and how much growth had happened. So I know that they worked really hard to make sure that felt seamless, and I think they did a great job.
Yeah, they did. A lot of people had like it's he was a kid. Now it's how did he grow that much? His voice has grown. Like it's fine, guys. It's okay. It's fine. I
Yeah.
I really love though. Sunny did such a fantastic job. I heard this new recent video of Christopher talking about how Sunny took decisions or to change or add some new scenes or was so much difference than the previous time he played Atreus, and how he has more thoughts to the game. Did you have like were you also like kind of surprised by like, oh my God, this guy is now able to go and add his own ideas into it more so now than he was in the previous one?
Yeah. You know, the more we mature as people, the more we bring to our craft as an actor. And so certainly now that he was a actual teenager and going through those transitions and the hormones and the feelings and the changes and wanting to sort of cut the cord, like the apron strings to like, you know, your household and your parents and really defining who you are going to be in the world. I think that Sunny certainly started to experience that as a person and brought more of that knowingness and also some emotional depth to the role, which he already had, you know, as a young boy, which made him such a special actor to work with. But definitely more so, I would definitely echo Chris's sentiments on that. The one thing that made me a little sad, just a little, is that I really loved that mother son sort of by proxy
Mm.
relationship that Freya had with him, a little more so in the 2018 game. It didn't make as much sense in the narrative in this game, but there was that one sort of, and I won't say specifically, but there are a few moments where we have a bit of that completion. I, of course, wanted more because I love working with Sunny, and also, you know, Freya is she's such a consummate mother, you know, and that whole storyline with Balder, which of course derails her
Yeah.
as you meet her in those first
Oh
few
yes.
moments of Ragnarok. So yeah.
Yeah, it was my God. I going back to that, like where you played as such a helpful character, such a motherly, like you still are, but it's like more of a like a very kind, ready to help, ready to be there in 2018 version of the game, to now where you're like, I'm gonna kill him. Wait.
Yeah.
And so how
Yeah.
is that like? Because you play a very different kind of different character, but now you have a completely kind of different vengeful. You're ready to strike Kratos, kill him, all that stuff. Like how is that playing that character to more into the negative side and a little bit? How is that like when you got into this going back to Freya?
It felt really gratifying, to be honest with you. I feel a real duty and responsibility to Freya. I think she's a really important figure, female figure in the whole pantheon of video games in
Yeah.
general. That, you know, she leads with strength, vulnerability, courage, truth, being a mother. You know, I talk about that a lot. Like they didn't overtly sexualize her,
Mm.
where they do a lot with, you know, and sexuality is a beautiful thing as a woman. I mean, after all, she's the goddess of love, sex, and fertility and beauty. So yeah, she's got that's okay.
Yeah.
But when we're hanging our hat just on those attributes, you're sort of missing out on all the other aspects of who she is as a goddess, and then the way that Sony Santa Monica Studios, the writers humanized her to just be this like this woman. So yeah, so the mother aspect was really great. And yeah, you don't F with a mama bear. You really don't,
You
because
don't.
as you saw Atreus's, when he gets angry, what happens to him? Well, that's internally what's happening with Freya. So the one piece of hope she had in 2018 in that game and in God of War 4 was to make amends with her son, to own what she did. She tries to explain, like, I can make us whole. We can start something new. But, you know, Balder's like, he's done.
Yeah.
And so much so that as a parent, I would lay down my life for him. And that's really a beautiful like analogy, right? That if the only thing that's going to make you whole, if that's the thing I took away from you, and as your parent, my one responsibility was to set you off into the world to succeed, to have a fully fleshed life, then you can take my life.
Yeah.
And of course, we all, you know, have feelings like, oh, they saved her and that's the right thing to do. But she was like, oh my God, like you took
Yeah.
the choice away and you also took my son. So yeah.
Yeah, that was an insane moment. So I'm seeing her right now. It's so crazy because in this game, there's so many scenes that are emotionally draining, especially for Freya. It's like was it too much challenging for you? Was there any kind of challenge to have those kind of, because you had so many scenes like that in this specific game? Was it more of a challenge for you to like go into that zone?
I want to note the fact that this amazing light is shining through. It's like straight Bifrost Seder
It
magic
is.
happening.
It
I
is.
love it.
I
Okay,
am
it'll
loving
go
it.
down as if the sun is setting. I apologize. But hey, you know what? She's also the goddess of Seder magic. So we have a little magic. Yeah, it wore me out. It wore me out, but not in a way that I felt depleted.
Mhm.
It was like I got to explore any and all pain. And I spoke about this in the documentary that they made, that there were certain aspects of my life and certain situations and relationships that I could pull from, where I could like viscerally feel what pain and betrayal and hurt and desire and longing and feeling completely shut out. I could relate to all those aspects because of my own personal life experiences, and so that's what that's what you do as an actor. I mean,
Mhm.
it's very basic. You can pull from that in your own life, and you can relate to your character. And so, yeah. Whereas like there were some times where I was like at the end of the day, and I even posted a few pictures of like me like this in my trailer with like tear stained cheeks and all the dots on my face, like, oh my God, they keep pulling it out of me. Like, is there anything left to give? But there's
Uh,
always more to give. Yeah,
there's always,
always more.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's hard to do. I cannot imagine how it is because I always think when I see these scenes, I'm like, how do you even get to that zone? Getting that zone and then getting out of it, only to then again get back into it. Was there
Yeah.
moments where you have that scene done and the director went like, that was good, let's do it again? You have that kind of
Yeah.
scenes? Yep. Was it too much
Oh
like,
yeah.
we can't take that scene, right?
Well, here's what's unique about what we're doing, and this is no secret. Everyone knows, like Dory is our DP, and it was all about the no cut camera, right? And
Hmm.
that's what made the last game so special. Because I mean, I imagine as a gamer, like I'm like a soon to be gamer, and more on that later. But I can only imagine that when you are controlling Kratos and you become him, that the game grabs you by like your shirt and like pulls you and doesn't let go of you.
Yeah.
That's the choreography of that camera, and it's going to show you exactly what moment it wants you to see. And sometimes it can be powerful to be behind Kratos's shoulder and just
Hmm.
hear his voice, and now you're looking at Atreus. So I really thought that that was a really powerful thing that they did, with the no cut camera and just like the whole crew in general.
Yeah.
But give me your question again, because I want to make sure I answered it fully.
No, I was saying that if when you had those emotional moments,
Yeah.
when you shot all those emotional moments, did you have that
Oh,
a thing where you're done with it, but the director was like, let's do it again,
yes.
one more take.
Yeah. Okay. So that's right. I was derailing myself with the no cut camera. So we had to nail it. So there's the technical aspect, which was the camera
Hmm.
following us, no bumps in the camera,
Yeah.
everything smooth as can be. And Tater Tot was actually our she was working the camera, and
Yeah.
Dory was sort of this time standing back as like the overall director of photography. But then there's also when they know, because now they know me and Chris, and they know Sunny, and they really understand what we can bring and also what's required of the character in that scene. So yeah, there are moments where maybe it wasn't quite there, and maybe Matt Sophos would whisper something in my ear, or Eric would give me this really great thing to simplify what it was that was I was doing or attempting or whatever. And so you really rely on our leaders like that, on people like Eric and Matt, who's the director of the full narrative, to help you get there. But for the most part, and Chris will say this too, the second that we walk on those stages in the volume, it is almost like a mystical, well, no, it is a mystical experience where it's like the character, it's like it's just there, it
Mm.
comes to life. It's not, it was, there was never a moment where any of us were like, I just can't get the emotion of this. It's like it was readily available. But yes, we do have takes. I think probably the most takes we did on one scene may have been up to like 11.
Ooh.
And it was because it's like when there's multiple people in a scene and
Uh,
everyone's got to hit their mark and everything's got to, and so yeah.
that's hard. That's hard. But speaking of that, like, is it easy for you to just switch to your character like that? Because like some people like they do something, there's some kind of activity, and then they when the shot happens and they go into it. Is it like easier to go like let's switch to Freya, to get in that character? Is that easier, or is like do you have something else that you do before you jump into it?
I do some little magical things in my trailer, and little totems and little, as she has got that witchy, goddess magic side. I
Yeah.
had some little trinkets and little oils and things that I would have. And then I typically do this for every role that I play, because I'm also a singer and a songwriter. And music, as we know, just
Mhm.
listening to Bear McCreary's like,
Oh my God.
Lord, I can't even, because you listen to the score and you're just weeping,
Yeah,
like, and
exactly.
just the association between the images and then the sound and then this score is like the thread that like
Yeah.
brings it all together. I will listen to a playlist of songs, and I make a playlist for most of my characters that have dramatic arcs, and content to really bring myself, because when I've got my little earbuds in and I'm walking onto the stages, and there's all these technical things happening. For me, I have to sort of protect um, the frailness. The frailness isn't quite the word, but it's like it's temporal. Like
Mm.
emotion can be temporal, right? So if I'm like, shooting the shit, like, and it's an emotional scene, and I'm like, hey, cracking jokes, and I can't do that, and all of a sudden, like a
Yeah.
robot, switch it on. I got to sort of be in that space, protect it, have it be sacred. And then of course when it's done, I'm like, let's go get a drink and eat some pizza, because like that wore me out.
Yeah, my God. You do need some pizza after that. That's a perfect way
Yeah.
to go. But what you had so many amazing scenes. I cannot believe this. Freya, everybody had such an amazing scene. What was the most memorable piece of direction you got when you played that role?
Oh. Mm.
That's a hard one, yeah. There's so much.
Yeah, I mean, because it was all so good. Yeah, okay. So I'll speak about a piece of direction I got from Eric,
Mhm.
and then I'll speak about a moment where Matt Sophos whispered magic in my ear, and it was like it just happened. So um there's a moment where, and again, I'm not going to say specifically, but
Yeah.
I will tell you there was a moment where Freya finally understands, or in her body no longer needs revenge, right?
Mm.
Because her arc is from vengeance to forgiveness. And
Yeah.
there's a lot that she goes through. And there's a lot that you all learn about her because the writing's so thorough and in depth, right? I mean, even all the ancillary side quests. Now I know these side quests are like
Yes.
I'm like, people are tweeting me, oh my God, you and Kratos, and they love it. So it was such a journey from 2014 to this moment where I knew this was the moment that she was whole, like, and I was not sure how much emotion I would need to bring, or I wasn't sure if I had felt it, and I can't remember specifically what Eric said, but it gave me permission just to keep that moment really simple. It didn't need to be, the moments with the tears coming down. I
Yeah.
had already done that, right? A lot of times during the game, a lot of times. And he was like, no, there's a stillness. And I want you to, I think it was along the lines of just trusting that it's there.
Mm.
And I went back and did the scene. I'm getting chills as I think about it, because and it felt really, really good. And I was like, oh, Eric, thank you. Thank you for seeing on the outside what I couldn't see in that moment. So that was one from our fearless director, video game director, Eric Williams. And then the other one was um, a scene where, yeah, so it's a moment where she can unleash her fury and decide to hurt who she's after
Yeah.
or not. And I couldn't quite, like, the depth of all that pain hadn't sunk into my gut yet. Like, it felt like
Mm.
my voice was trapped a little bit here, but it wasn't coming from like the soles of my feet, or like the magma, like under the world tree, through my body and out my face, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted. Oh my God, what did Matt Sophos whisper? I think I'll tell you, because I feel like I'm gonna cry when I think about it. I think what he said was like, I think what he said felt like it gave me permission to really just let it all out. And I don't remember the words specifically, but he was like literally right before the cameras rolled. And like, that's a really great time for an actor, because like when the cameras roll, and then maybe there's all these things like that happen that take you out of the moment, but he whispered it and ran off the state, ran off the volume. And it was like a dagger. It was like went in my heart and my gut. And then it was like the emotion flooded me. And that was the scene. So we have a great team helping us out with stuff like that. Yeah.
That sounds so good. Just going through that, saying some said something that is so powerful that as he's going by, he's like, you just have that coming up from the gut up there, and then you just throw it out there. It's just it's just the pure energy, the pure rawness of it comes out. It's so
Hmm.
cool, and it just looks amazing. That's why I was like, wow, these scenes are, my God, so incredible. I cannot believe, like, it's at this point I'm like, can we just turn this into a movie? Do you think that God of War
Yes.
can turn into a movie? Can it go back into
Oh,
a movie whole?
heck yeah. I think a movie, I even think like a TV series,
Oh
because
yeah.
think about all these characters, like, Corey as the creative director of the game,
Hmm.
right? He's now created, a bit of a Marvel universe, hasn't he? Because
Yeah.
you have like, there could be like, people are like, we want a Freya game, we want a Brock and Sindri, we want a Thor and a Thrud, and they want to know, they want to like explore these interesting gods and goddesses that they relate to, because they
Yeah.
write them in such human ways. And I'm like, thumbs up. Like, I'm ready for a live action. I'm ready to show my face, right? Because
Yes.
I obviously, it's my voice, it's my body, my movement, it's my energy, it's my spirit, and I think that does come through.
100%.
um Thank you. But yeah, no, I mean, who wouldn't want a live action TV series? Like, yeah, let's do it.
That would be so cool. I would love to see the whole, not the whole thing, but more so extra stuff, like a whole series. Series would be even fun, to
Yeah.
explore all these characters. I would love to see, even two things. I would love to see one would be a series. The second one, I think, would love to see more of Freya. I feel like there should be a DLC
Mhm.
in the game to explore more of Freya, maybe the backstory, because we did see some of the backstory, but I want to see more, like what she talks about. If we could see more of that, would be amazing. What if that happens? What if that Freya gets extra?
Oh, from your lips to God of War's ears. That's what I keep saying, because a few people are asking that on Twitter, and I, of course, I can lobby and say yes, Sony, come on, let's do this. But they're so thoughtful in everything that they do, and they hear it and they know it, and I think that the way that they've been sort of doling out the stories, and the creativity and the information, has
Yeah.
been there's been a lot of thought behind it. But you know what? I think a DLC could be in the works, could be in the works for many characters. And I certainly think that Freya's backstory, like everything that happened with Odin, everything that happened when she was the leader of the Vanir, and her whole intention was to like broker a peace, and then how Mimir was involved. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so, I mean, who
So
doesn't? I
much.
want to know. I want to
Yeah.
play it out.
That
Yeah.
when I went through that game, those moments were like, wow, there's so much. I'm like, cannot wait. There's so much to do, so much to hear about every single character. That's what I love about this game. Every single character gets so much. And I'm like, wow, there's so much to it. And I've not even finished 10% of the game. And like this, it's so crazy. I just really loved it. Have you played the game yourself?
So here's the thing, and I often share this. Like, I love video games. I love fantasy, sci-fi. My mom raised us on, Star Wars and
Oh,
like Miss Pac-Man, and then in the 90s, something came on the scene called Super Mario Brothers, which was a big deal.
oh, hell
And we
yeah.
got the Nintendo, and I was really good with like, that controller, but the new controllers intimidate the heck out of me. Like, I don't have any idea what the X or is there a Y or a zero or a side things.
Hmm.
So I think I need to be trained like a Padawan. Like, I just need to like get in with an Obi-Wan Kenobi
Oh
style,
yeah.
gamer that has a lot of patience, and can, because I would love to play through the game. I'm a little jealous that everybody else's experience. I'm like, I want that.
Now, I want the experience. That would be cool. I mean, hey, it's easier. I know it's very intimidating to hold the controller, because the first time I hold the controller, I'm like, what do I do? How, like, so it's intimidating, but once you get into it, I think you'll really enjoy it, because it's your role playing it is just, and coming and seeing that in the game is so mind-boggling. And then playing it, it's so hard to play at the same time, because I'm dying all the time. I'm like, how will I progress? So it's like good job me. I'm doing great. So, but yeah, I hope you get to play it. Did you see? I know I've seen you on Twitter, like people posting scenes, like this scene was great, that scene was great. Have you seen all the scenes or most of the scenes of yours from
Yeah.
the game?
So last night I was with my mom, because we got caught up on The Walking Dead,
Oh,
and she and myself and my stepdad watched through the scenes, and my mom watched through all of them. I think it's about close to an hour. So
oh
it
yeah.
felt it felt like the Freya movie in a lot of ways. Although I was a little sad because then when we wrapped it up and everything, and then later when I was looking online, I was like, oh, all of the side quest
Mm,
scenes didn't make it into this particular edit. And one of those side quests is one of my favorite moments for her. And it felt like such an intuitive moment for me as an actress and also a human to know what that scene required. So it was kind of a revelatory moment for me. Yeah.
yeah, I know that scene. That it's so many scenes in this game that just makes me cry. I'm like, I remember like playing that one moment. I think that was a side quest of yours only, and I'm like,
Yep.
and I'm playing it. I just got it, and then I was like kind of getting emotional. And mom comes in like, "Why are you crying?" I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm playing this game. It's too much."
I love that. I love that. Yeah, no, we've got grown men crying and naming their children Atreus and
Oh
their dogs
yes.
Kratos and their daughters Freya. Like it's incredible how much impact this has had just like not just in pop culture but just like this I say it's not a game, it's a movement, but like,
Hmm.
you know, maybe that's a bit much, but they are calling it the game of a generation, and I'm
Oh
like, yeah,
yes.
because there's so much care. And you're right. And some people are like, well, you know, I know there's a little, maybe there's a certain audience member who feels like it's too movie like and games should just really be about like shoot them up or cut their head off or whatever it is. But I feel like what makes the game so impactful is because of the emotional connectivity that you have to these characters
Oh
and
yeah.
how they relate to you in your life. So yeah, you're crying, of course. I mean, within the first 10 minutes with
Oh yes.
Atreus, I'm just like weeping like a little baby. I'm like, oh my God.
I was like, this is how the game. This is how you're gonna let the game start. This is great. All right, looks like it's gonna be a crying fest from now.
Yep.
But okay, this is one fun thing. I don't know if you have thought about it, but what if Kratos and Freya's kind of like powers or the way of fighting or everything kind of changed? They kind of replaced each other. What if Freya had the blades of chaos and the axe, and she had the rage and all that stuff? Would that be something that would be exciting? Would that be something to see that Freya? That'd be crazy. I would see like Freya just going, yeah, I'm just going on rage mode and just punching the hell out of everybody. That would be fun to see.
Well, yeah, that could. I mean, that would be really interesting. I know that, and I haven't seen a bunch of these, but I know that she does. You know, the Freya does kick
Oh yeah,
some serious
she
ass,
does.
like with her bow and arrow, and then also the sword, and then what happens in one of the side
100%.
quests.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, but you know, I feel like that moment will happen if and when they decide to do whether it's DLC or a game or more, however they would do more exploration on her, because I can imagine how much she fought, and we all know this because of the lore. Not I'm
Hmm.
not giving any spoilers from the game, but
Yeah.
we know that she was the leader of the Vanir and then the Aesirs, and there were the war with that the continual warring that happened, and then as the goddess of love she was like, all right, look, this is how we're going to broker a peace. Like, he just needs a wife and a
Yeah.
family. We just
Yeah.
need to calm that all father down, you know,
Yeah. I just have to
just get him
calm
in front of
down.
the, oh, yeah, get him in front of the fireplace, massage his shoulders, rub his feet. Come on, Odin, stop being such an nuisance to the nine realms. But, yeah, I think that if there were probably moments, and we saw them in this game of like rage. I mean, when they have that opening shot, this was the trailer of
Hmm.
me coming in like a falcon, shape shifting into Freya, jumping on that sled. And I mean,
Oh.
that was some of the most gratifying moments. So yeah, I think there's more room to explore that. Whether she'd have blades of chaos, I don't know. I think that's more Kratos's journey, but certainly that rage was there.
Oh yeah, the rage, my God, was insane. I love to see that.
Yeah.
Going, like there was a lot of interest in me when I saw all this, like with video games now where they are. Like I just was really interested. Like, what if I would do voice acting and all that stuff? But I always felt that nervousness. Like, okay, and then it's so much that I'm like, maybe not. Do you have that kind of nervousness when you get into the shots, like the first day, any other day? Do you feel that nervousness getting all the way up or something?
Oh, I thought the first table read I was going to get fired. I was literally convinced of it. Like First of all, I wasn't necessarily set up in the most fair way. I mean, I auditioned. I thought it was like the Game of Thrones. So I was like, I just was channeling Khaleesi and Lady Stark. It felt like Shakespeare. It was a soliloquy. I'm like, oh, I'm a child of the theater. This is no problem. I always felt like I was meant for these types of roles. It felt right in my body. And I was like, okay, great. I got it. Thank you. Because, and I say this a lot, like actors, for me, like I go into every audition feeling like I am this person. You got to set yourself up to win,
Yeah.
and and I think it's important to have that. You're not going to get them all. I've had more rejection than I've had the yeses,
Mm.
and probably true for maybe 99% of actors out there. There's always the 1% that get like touched by the gods, and
Yeah.
everything's a yes. Um, and so, yeah, so when I got the job and I was like, this is so cool. I'm going to be a character in a video game. I'm not quite sure exactly what that is, but it feels like Avatar meets like, Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
Gollum. Like I saw that incredible actor and I was like, oh, that could be fun. So I go in and I'm there and I'm in the lobby at Santa Monica Studios, and behind me, or like everywhere, there's like beautiful oil paintings and images of the video games that this incredible studio produces. And so behind me was Kratos with the blades of chaos. It was very dramatic, and he was
Yeah.
on his knees and he was all flexed. And I kept looking at it, and I was talking to Corey Barlog at the time. And I was like, this is so cool. Thank you. Wow. This is all new for me. It's so exciting. And I kept looking back and I was like, and I was trying to be cool. Like I knew what I was talking about. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I think I know that game. I'm like, yeah, is that something like God of War, right? And he's like, mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the game you just booked. And I was like, oh, this is serious. And so then I go in the room and it's this big, like, Willy Wonka Mike TV room. It's all white, and there's these tables and there's all these cameras. And then I've got like this like Herculean man, like, Chris Judge with this
Oh,
booming voice. I'm like, and of course I knew him as Teal'c, right? I knew him as Teal'c, but
yeah.
I was like trying not to fangirl. I'm like, okay, yeah. And then, Alistair's Scottish brogue, which is like amazing for Mimir. And then
Yeah.
Robert Craighead's amazing voice for Brock. I'm like, and then there's Adam Harrington. It was like, and everybody was so great. And I was like, they are going to fire me. I am in a room with experienced voiceover actors. I have no idea what I'm doing. And that was a real feeling. And then so they weren't going to fire me. But I will say that it took me a minute to find her
Hmm.
cadence, where her voice sat in me, the inner workings of her, right? Because I didn't even know I was playing Freya.
Yeah,
I had
that's
no
true.
idea. I was like
Yeah.
just reading these words. I'm like, oh, Freya. Okay, I would have come in with a lot of study because I'm a very studious, like note-taking person, and I would have gone through all the lore. I would have read every book. I would have known all about the Norse mythology. So yeah, I was intimidated and I was scared, and I got through it.
Hey, that's wonderful. I mean, it's so kind of nerve-wracking to like you don't know your character, but then you know your character like, oh my God, there's like so much that I could have done, so much homework and all that stuff.
Oh
Uh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's insane. But okay, here's the thing, like after you did such a great job, even after that, I'm like getting to that role, finding her and then doing all that. 2018 was incredible and now is even more incredible. And since we talked about watching your scenes, do you ever have that kind of thing like where you watch a scene and you kind of over criticize yourself, or do you like criticizes the criticism is okay enough, but or you do it too much?
Yeah, that's a good question. And you're asking me. I was about to say every actor has their preference. Like some actors I know don't even watch their work. Like they
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't even. It took me a minute to watch my cut scenes because I just wanted to live in the memory of what it felt like when I was there. And then I decided to finally. I was like, I gotta watch these scenes, and I really enjoyed it. I don't feel, in particular, with this particular game and this particular role, especially in this particular game, I don't think there's anything I would have done differently, which is not to say that I haven't if watched other things and been like, oh God, and then you're like, oh, I should have delivered it this way, or,
Yeah.
and then, as an actor, you're also sort of subject to what they choose in the edit. I don't have control over that.
Hmm.
There might be a take where I felt like was better. Like I remember I did this role in Lifetime. It's called The Nanny Killer, and I was a nanny killer, right? And so she was intense, but I don't ever just want to play a killer like a killer. I'm like, well, what happened to this woman? Like, what's her pain? Why? I wanted the portal into why she made these horrible choices. And I remember there was this one take where I was having to let go of control in a moment, and I remembered I put my hands on the table and I stood up really slow. And this one take, I had tears rolling down my cheek, like perfect. Every actor's like, thank God it was all there. And
Yeah.
and they didn't choose that
Oh
take. And I was
no.
so mad. I was like, it was my Oscar moment on Lifetime. How dare you?
Oh
And they
no.
didn't do it. But no, I can absolutely look back at Ragnarok and I feel like I was really dialed in. Personally, I knew Freya so well at that point. We were a well-oiled machine. We had great leaders on set, and I just felt really primed and ready for her.
Oh, yes, that's amazing. I know a lot of people, including me, when I do whatever I do and I cannot watch myself, I cannot hear myself, it's very hard to hear my own voice, or to even watch me. I'm like, I look weird here. Should have pre-shot this thing, or I sound odd here. Look at those guys,
Yeah,
sound so good.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I over criticize a lot. That's why I sometimes don't watch my own. But it's so cool that it's very hard sometimes to like kind of not do that, because I feel like you overjudge yourself sometimes, and it's I would love to go in that zone, but I think it takes time to like kind of go into that place where you're like, you're not judging yourself, you're okay, whatever you did, you have fond memories of it, and you go with it. That's pretty cool.
Well, first of all, you have a fantastic voice.
Oh,
It's
thank you.
very, very distinct. And yeah, you have great resonance. And I mean, you just sound smarter than hell. So whatever the heck you're talking about, I'm just going to go, yeah, he knows better than I do.
Oh,
So
I'm not
don't, I
smart.
mean, well, sure you are. Here you are. You have your own podcast. You put some creativity and all that together. But it is hard. I think it is hard to hear your own voice. I mean, there's been times I've heard my own voice back, and I'm like, I'm a singer as well, and
Yeah.
sometimes I'll hear a song that I sang and I'll be happy with it, and other times I'm like, oh God, I just can't. Ugh. You just have those hit or miss moments in life. But in general, I think that a big part of for me was when I had a deep sense of self acceptance. When I finally had that like true acceptance of myself and that love, like, how would I talk about a friend that I loved? How would I support and encourage them? Maybe I should try that
Yeah.
for myself. The most important relationship you'll ever have, right? So when I finally got there, and there's still moments that I'll battle the voices in the head or whatnot, but I have such a strong union now with my own self that those moments of being overly critical and judgmental aren't really there like
Yeah.
they were in the past. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to know. That's very important as well. I think it comes over time. I think a lot of people like so much. I worried so much, but I think it comes over time. Speaking of you singing, uh,
Yeah.
was it ever a thought like, what if I had a soundtrack in the game, or if you sang for something like that would be cool, because I love the soundtrack, but it would be so cool to have your voice as well in one of the soundtracks in the game. Wouldn't that be so cool? Like,
Oh,
what
Bear
if
McCreary.
yeah. What if
Bear
Freya had a moment
McCreary.
like where she has to sing? There's a scene where she has to sing. That'd be so interesting.
That would be interesting. And I wouldn't put it past maybe sort of the attributes of her goddess-like nature
Yeah.
to maybe sing a little melody and have a lovely voice. Of course, not being the goddess of music or anything like that,
Mhm.
but I would imagine that would be great. Look, Bear McCreary's wife is incredible. I mean, you heard her sing.
Yeah.
That's her voice on Outlander. It's her voice on Memories of Mother.
Yeah.
Just that Memories of Mother is one of my favorite melodies of all time. And I'm being serious, like it's
Yeah.
so good. There might be a special music project that might be dropping at
Ooh.
some point. I can't really speak too much about it yet, but I will tell you that there's might be something special come in as a little thank you love letter to the fans. So we'll keep.
Yes. I am excited. I'm like, ooh, this is gonna be so cool when it comes out. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be the first. Like, let's listen to this. This is gonna be so exciting. One thing that I know a lot of people had like kind of thoughts about when the game came out, was coming out, where Corey is not involved so much in this game, and Eric Williams is the director this time around. A lot of people are like,
Yeah.
is it gonna work or something? What was like kind of difference between working with Corey and working with Eric?
That's a legitimate feeling because I had never met Eric either. All I knew was this beautiful fatherly energy that Corey had and this like amazing experience that we all went through together. And so, yeah, it was like, and then all of a sudden it's, somebody new coming in that's like shepherding the whole project. And of course, I trusted Sony Santa Monica knew a heck of a lot better than I did on who was right for the part. But, it's personal, right? And
Mhm.
so, so there was that getting to know you period. But the one, there's so many great things about Eric. The way that he, in fact, when we were at our launch party, he got up on stage and talked about how they were big shoes to fill, and there is this legacy, but he's been a part of this game and this
Oh
narrative
yes.
and God of War for so long. He understands the inner workings of it. And whereas his style is different than Corey's, I felt like, so he called himself a lighthouse, that he was the lighthouse, right? Because, he was saying the birds come by and shit on you, the waves come and try to knock you over. You get like all deteriorated by the salty brine. He goes, but you're steady and you're constantly having the beacon of light that brings the ships home. And I started crying. I'm like,
Wow.
that's what you did. Because, Corey birthed a new idea, right? Let's give literally and figuratively, let's give Kratos a son. What a turn
Oh
in the
man.
franchise. This was
100%.
an unrelenting. Yeah, he was an a-hole. He was an unrelenting God of War. He wasn't thinking about his choices. He was just doing his thing and
Just
raw.
killing people. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
You are dead. That's how it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, his own father. I mean, we all know this, right? Because this is part of the lore.
Yeah.
So when Corey really lobbied and fought for them to, hey, Kratos needs to grow up. Like he needs to mature and have a transformation here, an evolution. And I think as all of these young men that were creating God of War were also getting married and having children,
Yeah.
it's a game changer. We all know it's a
Yeah.
game changer. And so now it was a game changer for Kratos. And so yeah, he laid this new track. It was like we were going this way and then whoosh, we went this way. But Eric was a part, from so long a part
Mhm.
of this franchise that I think his style was that like it was masculine in its way of being sort of like literal and direct and simplified, which for someone like me who is, I'm obviously feminine, I'm a woman, but Freya also needed that masculine strength, right? And I don't say it like this isn't a gender conversation, but we know that there's a polarity in life, right?
Yeah.
There's the softer and the harder. And so we all have that in us as human beings. We all have masculine and feminine. And so especially in those moments where it was time to like have the general like come out, the warrior, the leader of the Vanir, like she's really lockstep with Kratos, right? Kratos is the general, but there she is right by his side, rallying the troops. He was really great with me in moments like that, for me in moments like that. And then of course the moments to simplify, he was just it gave me a lot of peace.
Mhm.
That's what it ended up being. It was a different kind of peace because I also felt a certain kind of peace with Corey. It was a different kind of peace that I needed. Yeah.
That's cool. That's lovely. Eric has been involved in such a long. I'm so happy that the team did such an incredible job here. But I'm gonna end with this. I'm gonna close up on this. Is
Okay.
I mean, you obviously cannot talk much, but whatever you can, what is your favorite Freya line, if you can pick out any?
Oh, from this game. I think there's a couple that, and I'm going to not say it exactly right, but it's one line when she says, the family that I had was torn away from me piece by piece. But there's comfort in knowing that I have found like the family that I've chosen. There's comfort in this chosen family.
Yeah.
Because it is really beautiful, isn't it? Aren't Kratos and Freya so great together?
So great.
Because
So great.
they and they kept it in this realm of like parents and friendship, and it's so beautiful. Like there really is a love there, and I know a lot of people are like they should end up being together, and who knows, you never know, I don't know. But that was one of my favorite lines also. Yeah, there's that moment of integration in one of the side quests where she's still trying to force, and I don't want to say, but you know, when she's still trying to force it and
Mhm.
she's angry and she's trying to like release something from the
Yeah.
past with Odin. And then there's a moment, and I remembered, I was like, oh my God, this is the moment where Freya needs to integrate that she was part of those choices. She was part of it. It didn't just belong to him, it also belonged to her. And like seeing her part in it, this is so huge. This is why so in love with Sony Santa Monica and the writers. You can't get to freedom and forgiveness without owning your choice to be there in the first place. And this isn't excusing if someone's abusive to you or there's something horrible that happened, but you've got to see your part in it, because if you don't, then you're not empowered. You're literally a victim your whole life of it. And Freya was fully victimized. Like that's when the vengeance came out. She's
Yeah.
like, how could you? It's all your fault. And it's like, but the Norns are like, I
Hmm.
don't know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that prophecy was basically the sum of your choices. And
Yeah.
I remember I was so like, oh my God, Freya's so angry. But Danielle was so happy because that was true responsibility in writing. So that moment where she goes, it wasn't just Odin's, it was also mine. And then the release happens, and the liberation, and it's liberation in that moment for her. So that was one of my favorite lines. And then of course, you know, the moment with Kratos that everyone was waiting for. It's like, this is either the moment where, you know, I forgive you or I kill you. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
she's at a crossroads, right? Because she's got to look down the barrel of her life and go, what's going to serve me the most here, right? So I mean, I could go on and on about the writing, but I think maybe those three are. And then also too, they gave her like so much great humor, like
Oh
just
yeah.
her disdain for Brock and Mimir is so funny to me. But like, she kind of loves them, but she's also like super annoyed by them as well. So the banter between Freya and those characters was fun, and they gave me jokes, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
good. She's not always so serious. She's a little bit of a party girl. She was a party girl back in the day.
Yeah.
So,
Those some of the jokes, I'm like, my God, this interaction is so good with the dwarves, with Mimir. I'm like, wow, this is good.
it was so good. They're so wonderful.
That's true. Well, I would say thank you so much for being
Thank
here. This
you.
has been a joy. But also congratulations on not only getting to this game, but also being nominated for so many awards in the Game Awards. So cool.
It's incredible. It's, you know, and again, like I weep and I cry tears of joy for the team, because I know what was at stake for them. And I know that this, like, it required everyone to like bring out even more excellence
Yeah.
than the last game. And we're leading the pack with 10 nominations. And I'm not shy about saying that that's awesome. And I totally think it's a really great move. And I hope that, you know, I mean, there's so many great games. I know Elden Ring is I've
Yeah,
only seen clips. It looks stunning.
it
But of
is.
course, you're rooting for your home team, right? So I'm rooting, and I'm just rooting for games in general. I'm rooting for this like massive turn in like really important narratives and the opportunity this platform has to reach billions of people, like millions and millions of people. Like it's the reach of this platform is really powerful. And I'm very encouraged by where the narratives and games will go, and really, really honored and super grateful to be in one that I think is laying down a foundation for that.